What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? We're back here for some more Mix and Mega coverage from OMPL. I'm gonna go over some of the week 4 and 5 games because I did do week 3, but I'll just cover. I got a couple of replays up here. I don't mind doing a couple of games. I changed the aspect ratio of these videos, so let me know if you think it's better or worse, or if you guys have any comments, or you can leave a like on the video or whatever all the people say. But anyway, we're just gonna hop right into this one. This is a week 4 game between Damflame and Clas. Clas brings us a nice rain team. This was right after Basque Legion got restricted, of course, so pretty easy to assume that it's Swift Sim Choice Banded on matchup, and Damflame's going to bring a pretty average-looking balanced team. Even though this was before the Arceus form reveal at preview was changed, it's pretty easy to assume that it's Arceus Ground on preview, just because he doesn't have a ground type, and you typically want something to block a Lecky from just volt switching on you forever in this tier. Which also means that if it is Arceus Ground, Damflame actually is lacking a water resist, so it could be very hard from him just from the matchup alone. Anyway, we see Sandy Shocks lead out against Golden Go, force it out, of course. Very scary Pokemon when it has Mega Evolved Sandy Shocks. It is Manectite though, so he just gets up the rocks and volts on out. Blissey goes for a Seismic Toss, chipping away at that great test, but of course with a big ass HP stat. That's it's barely a 4 KO, and Arceus Ground comes in and takes 42 from the Lopunite, so not sure of the calcs on that, of course, but it does seem like this Arceus Ground for sure has max HP or something close to it. Maybe some Physical Bulk is involved. Pelipper comes out, gets up the rain, gets a nice U-turn off on the Slow King, which hopefully he can pivot out with a Chili, but of course he's going to die to the Choice Banded Legion in the rain, so I think it is just a Swift Swim calc, but yeah, that's gonna hurt for sure. Maybe hitting Blissey and just hacking it. Oh, it's hard to make that play as well though, because the ghost resist is very important in this matchup. Definitely a hard game for Damflame. Yeah, I would have said maybe Mega Evolving the Blissey would have been better to take that Wave Crash, and he would have done 50% back, but maybe a different Pokemon stack, because getting the Chili reception off with King is very important, I think, in this matchup. But anyway, we're going to see the Corviknight come in on the Arceus Ground to get that slow U-turn out. Damflame goes into Zapdos. Not sure how that makes any progress here, but of course the Basque Legion is just going to come right back out and doesn't even need the Wave Crash. The Liquidation is just going to take that down from 84%, and Clas has really done pretty well this game, and it looks like the Lecky is just going to drop to another Liquidation. So this game is quickly just going to be out of hand here, as Damflame didn't bring a water type into the banded rain boosted water breaker that we have here. Of course, with Last Respects, it's very difficult Pokemon to not just sack the Blissey too, but Arceus Ground will take the CC again on the Tusk, but of course you can just get the rain back up and slow U-turn with the Pelly back into the Rain Sweeper, and it looks like not much can be done here. Although the Pelly does take a Latias Sight, Golden Go Shadow Ball pretty good there, pretty effective from that Pelipper, but of course you can just bring in the the Corviknight and just slow U-turn out. So this game is all but over. So he actually just goes in the Great Tusk here, and with Arceus Ground at 48%, that's just going to be 3 close combats and a GG from both players. Obviously a difficult matchup for Damflame without a water resist here, and no runs in the rain matchup, but definitely well played from Clas, and a sweet 6-0 for him in the Wigglies, who have been climbing back up in the standings after that game, so good for them. And of course here I'm going over my teammates' game, Space Speakers against XAVGB. One of the toughest players in the pool for sure. I would have liked to get a chance to play a talented player like him, but of course I actually think Space Speakers is really talented himself, so let's see what he can do in this matchup. Of course, he's got his own team here that he built. It's actually quite good, and Toxapex actually has a really good matchup in this game, of course, with 2 fire types and what we can assume to be an E-Killer perhaps, and a Dragonite. We'll see if Dragonite has the coverage to hit the Toxapex. It is Latias Sight, so the ground immunity is very strong. And we see a couple opening turns. I should have talked about it without the game going, of course, but we see Thresh getting up his rocks and Toxapex and not Mega yet, and we have the Manectite Iron Tread, so Great Tusk is going to be able to spin away those rocks right here. Brings in the Slowbro, revealing Chilling Water over Surf. Either one is good, I assume, but definitely Surf is nice to damage some of the... Anyway, let's just abandon that thought halfway through it. But anyway, the Zamazenta comes out on the Iron Treads. Only takes 31. Very, very bulky Pokemon, this Zamazenta, with that Aerodactyl boost, of course. 10 base stat to the Spadef. Brings in the Arcanine on the double to Manectite. Still forced out, scared of an Earth Power, fair enough. And there's the Great Tusk coming right back in to spin, and he reveals Pinsir right here. So it's a solid 20% on the Slowbro, which of course has not Mega'd yet, but you can assume Sableye or Manectite perhaps. So I guess his Tread is Manectite, so it cannot be Manectite. Anyway, we see the Cerulege coming in on the Blissey. Opts not to go for Brock's. Actually, I think it was Rock's Arcanine in this matchup. Not 100% sure. Don't remember exactly. But anyway, we see the Treads come in on the Pex. And another good double from Stretch to keep up the momentum. Cerulege into the Blissey, and of course, I actually forget what happens this turn. Right into the Toxapex. So, Pex, and that's a good play from Stretch, forcing the Mega on by bringing in the Luna. Of course, this Pex is pretty fat and just sits on anything. And another good double by Stretch, and yet another one even brings in the Slowbro. And see, this play I don't actually agree with. Space Speakers has not only a Blissey but a Golden Go, which this Slowbro has revealed Chilling Water, so the Golden Go kind of just sets up on it. But does allow the Zamazenta to take 49 there, so bit of a misplay there. And going to the Blissey, in fact, to trade here, I think is a little bit of an inaccuracy. Let's the Slowbro set up here, and yeah, Sable Knight Slowbro, of course, at +3 will be able to echo the gold, so you actually have to go for this now. You could get in your Toxapex perhaps, because it is faster for sure with Haze. This is Sable Knight Bro, so there's no way it would ever be faster than the Pex. It goes to the Golden Go now, but plus 5, I guess. That's a very scary Pokemon at this point, and Chilling Water just kills at 73%. Unfortunate. It goes to the Zama here as well to crunch for 30. I'm not sure if I agree with that. Of course, the Pex will for sure for sure Haze. Goes on the Pinsir Tusk as well, and Space Speakers just a little bit of absent-minded playing here, I think. Just forgets that his Pex is faster, and didn't go to the Golden Go with the swiftness on the Blissey. Tried to see him more, and of course Stretch is just gonna take out 3 Pokemon, and there's not much to be done here at this point. Space Speakers just drops to the fuck, and that'll happen. Everyone makes mistakes in games, but Stretch is in a severely advantageous position now. He can just go to the Treads, get up his rocks again, do some pressuring, just Electro Balls as well. Doesn't want to put up rocks on his own side. And we see a double back to the Pex, which has lost Regenerator now in exchange for Levitate, but of course that means he won't be able to stall out the rest of Stretch's team, almost certainly. He will just have the offensive tools to break it with like 3 SD Pokemon, assuming, and yeah, not much can be done here. The Pex Blissey core couldn't withstand this at the end of the game, so E-Killer is just going to be able to... Oh, the Pex does live on the 1%, but for sure the E-Killer and the Slowbro, all the Pokemon on Stretch's team will just be able to overpower the last 3 Pokemon up. Of course, the Space Speakers never got up his Stealth Rocks this game, so definitely some different plays could have been made. But that happens, and everyone is gifted to play this game perfectly every turn. But Slowbro setting up again, and it's doing 36 to Pex with a Psyshock, so it looks as though this Pex will probably just be run out of recovers by this Slowbro eventually. And yeah, this Slowbro will be able to pressure the Blissey, having Psyshock, and needs a Shadow Ball crit or something to make it in, and it just looks as though he's not even soft boiling up. And yeah, we're gonna just skip to the end here. Of course, very interesting team from Stretch's side for sure. The Cerulege and Ursaluna core, 2 fire type Swords Dance Pokemon. It's it's a formidable core for sure. And Zamazenta as well, a good bring, and Pex in this game would have been very strong if Space had played with a little bit more accuracy. But can't win them all, and a well played game to XWGB on this one. These are two of the week 4 games, so I'll go over the last two, and then I'll move to the week 5 games as we were heading into week 6 of the action this week. And tomorrow I'll be playing Icemaster for what I assume will be the first game of Mix and Mega for week 6. And from kdca, we'll see a Screens Regieleki lead. He's playing against Caradon Gliding, which of course is Derpy Boy, or DB for short. I see a Sable Knight Gastro lead. He gets up a little bit of chip up on the Screen Jalecki and gets up the rock. So we have a Manectite Spectre up here. With the light screen up, it's not taking much from that Volt Switch, but it'll get off a good chunk, 100% on that Urshifu even. Looks like there's not much counterplay for Manectite Spectre here on DB's team, so of course very unfortunate, but Magearna will be able to live one, shift gear up, and take it out with a body slam. So but it will have died to the E-Speed to Revenge, of course. So we see Aleki come out, assuming to be Altarionite here. DSA reveals the Arc Ground, so should be able to comfortably take 2 E-Speeds and just heal on up back to full. DB brings out his Tornadus here, a pretty big threat. I mean, there is a Screens Regieleki, but he will just Mega Evolve Pidgeotite, and wow, lots of HP and I'm not sure if there's Spadef, but definitely has the speed to get off that screen before the Tornadus would be able to attack again. And we see Arceus Poison on DB's side, so perhaps it's the Cosmic Power variant, but as we see it's Ice Beam, so more likely to assume a Calm Mind variant. And we see a DD Arc Ground from DSA, so this is very scary. Depending on its coverage, could just Oko the Tornadus, and of course the other two are all Ground Weak, excuse me. And yeah, this Gastrodon is just hoping for a freeze at this point. It's just too strong, and we see a Gravity actually off the Arceus ground. So of course now it can just EQ 3 times and win the game, I assume. We'll see if he can get a crit with E-Speed, and no such luck. And of course we'll just see 3 more Earthquakes for DSA to pick up this game, and a well-played game to both parties. 2 very offensive teams, of course. Definitely Manectite Spectre was a huge threat to DB's team, and lots of that might have been a very good bring, this DD Arc Ground. Definitely a big threat to DB's team. I guess the Urshifu would have been able to take it on, but of course it was sacked to the Spectre. So what are you going to do? Screens, definitely a decent bring. The female Basculegion here, actually not restricted Pokemon, so very interesting to see what that would have been, and of course an unrevealed Magearna, but very nice offensive game here between DSCA and Caradon Gliding, and DCA is able to convert his advantageous matchup into a victory in 23 turns. So nice quick game for this one. And then our last game from week 4, we have Quantum Tesseract versus Icemaster. Icemaster with a very interesting team, bringing the Giratina, which is maybe a questionable pick, but it's a decent defogger. There's not a lot of great defoggers in this tier, and I think this was still the last week of Golden Go. Of course, we did see Damflame bring it earlier, but Golden Go allowed to use a stone as well, is what I mean. And we see an interesting pick with the Hoopa here, assuming Diansite. Definitely weak to E-Speed Revenge Killers, but of course a very formidable wall breaker with Hyperspeed Fury and a bunch of great coverage moves like Fire Punch to hit Magearna, Grass Knot. I wouldn't say Fire Punch is a great coverage move, but it just does have the options, of course. It has lots of options. Anyway, we see an Urshifu on Icemaster's side. Could potentially be a very problematic Pokemon. Of course, there is a Slowking, but U-turn shenanigans with this Pokemon is very scary, of course, and the Slowking on each side to Chilly Reception out and perhaps get some momentum, a Corviknight on Quantum Tesseracts, and it seems as though that's what he'll lead with. We see a Fire Blast miss turn 1, which is pretty unfortunate for Icemaster, because that definitely would have done at least 40%, I'm assuming, from a camera type Blisseydu, of course, out here. And QT just opts for another slow pivot from the Slowking and bring in his Hoopa. Of course, Blissey is a fat boy, so it will take 1 and do 70 back to the Hoopa. I'm not much of a switch in on Icemaster's team. Of course, this is a very difficult Pokemon to switch into, so definitely makes the decision to sack the Blissey there. Maybe questionable, but what can you do? It's definitely a scary Pokemon, and you could argue that any one of these Pokemon could be more advantageous in this matchup. Of course, we'll just see Icemaster hit the Surging Strikes button constantly. Of course, Slowking probably not running a move like Psychic, so decent to keep it though as well. Chilly Receptioning out is very advantageous. Doesn't want to take the U-turn. It was Quantum Tesseract's thought process there. Of course, he does lose his Corviknight in the process, but definitely a big threat. And so we'll see the Arcanine come in on the Slowking Galar, and Slowking Galar perhaps get a nice switch into Arceus Ground on the Goldengo, but get the Regenerator, of course, back up to full. And we see the Goldengo go for a Nasty Plot. Of course, it is Latias Site, so it was able to do that safely up on the Arceus Ground. Takes 75 from the Shifu, but of course we'll be able to Oko it back with the +2 Shadow Ball. We see the Mewtwo come out, so this Mewtwo's definitely got some work to do, but the Hoopa's already been chipped down, so if it had a way to touch the Slowking, it could be a severe threat. But of course it reveals the Fire Blast, but then switches out, showing that it probably doesn't have a Thunderbolt or a Grass Knot to touch the Slowking, so a little bit unfortunate for Icemaster, but we'll see if the Arceus Ground will be able to Calm Mind up alongside this Goldengo. +6 Arceus Ground does actually 1v1 the Goldengo, unless it has quite a bit of sped FEVs. Of course, a critical hit is always a possibility, but definitely the Arceus Ground is just too fat, especially if it's running some sped FEVs, which I think most Arceus Ground should be, just to help in that the Calm Mind war at the end of the game. But yeah, this Ice Beam will for sure be doing a lot of damage to the Goldengo. Of course, it does get a couple hits off, and on the third Shadow Ball, it does crit, so very lucky for Quantum Tesseract. Definitely will just end the game on the spot, and of course, the Mewtwo can't even kill it from 75, so very unfortunate for Icemaster, and he'll just forfeit there on the spot. Very unfortunate just to end the game on the crit there. I would have liked to see how this played out, but what can you do? Pokemon happen, and on to the next one. A good win for Quantum Tesseract as he stays undefeated here. The victory against Icemaster. Of course, Giratina never came out, so could never see it do much, but wasn't much of a, I guess, Arcanine you could assume is the Stealth Rocket here. But anyway, enough for this game. We'll be this will be our last week game from week 4, so we'll be moving on to the week 5 games. And so we're going to start it off with XAVGB or Stresh versus Derpy Boy on the main account. Not even Koraidon Gliding here, so very interesting team on both sides. Stresh has got some picks he's brought before in previous weeks with the Hammerot, as we like to call it, the Hamboni, the Pigman, and their Saloon, of course, and I think he's brought some semblance of all these mons before. Maybe the Toxapex and the Sandy Shocks are new picks, but Sandy Shocks, of course, being a very scary Pokemon, and we got some interesting Pokemon on Derpy's side. We have a Groudon on a team lacking an Arceus Ground, so definitely an interesting pick. You gotta assume it's going to be a Sword Stance Hazard setting set, perhaps with spikes, and then we have an Enamorus. Just an Enamorus there, so you got to be curious about what that could be. Perhaps Princerai, perhaps Pidgeotto, who knows really. But Zamazenta, of course, always a scary Pokemon to see on matchup. So we'll see what we have here. Derpy Boy is going to lead out with a Groudon. He does have a Garganacl as well in the back there, but does not really have a Water type either. And with a Hammerot there, you wonder if that could be a very effective Pokemon in this matchup. Of course, Stresh is just going to bring the Pex on Groudon, assuming Latias Site here, so, and actually does just hit the button right away and gets the Toxic off on the Groudon. So this Groudon's already on a timer, turn 2, so we'll see. But it did get up the rocks there, but of course, Corviknight and a Regieleki here, Stresh will definitely be able to get rid of those hazards pretty easily, and he just defogs on turn 4, so Groudon's on a timer for not much returns here, but Garganacl is able to get off a Curse Off. Scary Pokemon for sure. Ursaluna is coming out, reveals Red Orb, and he gets a Salt Cure off, so Skull Cure and Mix and Mega, ooh, is that a scary move, I think. And, Stresh is able to coax the Mega Evolution on turn 6, and wow, that's pretty big, because now Pex can pretty freely just come in on this Garg and well, not freely of course because Salt Cure is a move, but just threaten it out with a Toxic at this rate. But anyway, Sandy Shocks comes out here as Stresh is able to maintain momentum and gets the Garganacl in, and we see a Glalatite reveal, so ooh, very very difficult for DB at this point because Groudon's at 22%, probably won't be able to keep the rocks up. And dang, even another prediction prediction there from XAG from Stresh, as he just goes for the Earth Power, of course, on the 22% Groudon free play, and DB goes to Slow King there, takes 92%. We see Zamazenta come in and just survive the 2 KO, even before the Mega Evolution, of course. A very fat, scary Pokemon. And then, yeah, of course, if you did see that Photosynthesis, that's actually just visual, so there is no boost, but man, does it look scary sometimes. And Slow King is able to heal it off, so bit of a scary couple turns there, but of course, Groudon is still weakened, but definitely can still bring it back here for DB, although you'd like to see if he could, oh, well, it looks as though Pex is being sacked, so perhaps Garg can still be a very scary Pokemon here in the end game. Of course, with 2 electric special attackers, you gotta hope that Max Spadef Garg can take those on, but of course, you never know until you see what happens. We see the Regieleki Volt Switch in on the Slow King. Of course, it still has Regenerator, so it'll be able to go out for free, and it looks as though Stretch will just ceaseless for another pair of spikes here, which is what he does. So I'm assuming we'll see a Namorous here, or a Lecky, of course, to try to get the spin off, and Stretch will, like, yeah, he'll just go to Corviknight, try to maintain momentum, getting that slow U-turn, assuming a Volt Switch from DB, but of course he just goes for E-Speed, and we see a Roost from Stretch, so good play, back up to full, and we're going to see Volt Switch do 35. Ooh, not a very good chunk, and Stretch is going to Roost again, I guess, going for a Thunderbolt. Very fair play. Corviknight's a fat Pokemon, especially Sableye, and he goes for the Brave Bird. Of course, Zamazenta was in there, so fine play as well, and we see a Mega Evolution there from Derpy Boy, not sure why, but I guess it does give him an immediate ground resist outside of a Namorous, but Garganacl is also Pinsirite, so questionable for sure to just drop the Regenerator there, but Stretch is able to slow pivot around with the slow Corviknight and just Sandy Shocks and just continually chip this Slow King for basically free, and now it's at 60% with no Regenerator. It's going to stay that way. So Garganacl comes back out and goes for the Salt Cure, but of course Corviknight is slower, so we'll just be able to slow U-turn back out into Sandy Shocks. I'm just going to take a drink of my water and let this game play, but we see Garganacl take the 64% from the Sandy Shocks. A very, very effective chip, and Garg is just going to go down there. Drink waters, ladies and gentlemen. That stuff is good for you. We see Alecki go on for a Volt Switch on Slow King, and now this Slow King without Regenerator is looking like it's been clicking slack off a very frequent amount of time, and Stretch has just put Derpy Boy in the blender a little bit. I say that rhetorically, of course. I just mean he's been clicking Volt Switch and U-turn a fair amount, but turn 34, Stretch is maintaining his 5 Pokemon to 4 Pokemon advantage, and you'll see why, especially if there were some hazards up on either side. Definitely Volt Switch is a very viable strategy in Mix and Mega currently. We see a Namorous come out and reveal Pidgeotite. Of course, Corviknight being a fat Spidef Corviknight, it seems as though it's able to take the Future Sight and the Focus Blast very freely and respond with 60% from the Brave Bird. So Sableye Core definitely a very strong defensive wall in this tier, especially with all our electric types. Of course, would Thunderbolt Regieleki be very good here? Of course, it would be able to pressure that a little bit better, but of course, with the Ursaluna in the back, not likely to make any serious progress. But we see as though DB takes the Liquidation to the face, 70% on his Alecki, and with his Alecki very low, it's looking very hard from this point, unless Namorous can pull out some real plays here. Of course, the Slow King comes in, takes 40%, and is forced to heal off, and it takes another big chunk just to Chilly Reception out, and bringing his Zamazenta, of course, here, which will force out the Luna into the Shocks, so the Shocks will be going down there, so back to 4-4, but at this point of the game, it is looking much like the opposing Regieleki, or at least Stretches will just clean the game with Slow King being so weak here. So with Alecki getting that speed boost, it looks as though the last two members of Derpy Boy's team will just drop, and that'll be a GG. Very cool team from Stresh with the Defin Volt turn core here with Shocks and Alecki and the slow Spidef Corviknight, and a good way of getting up hazards with the Ceaseless Edger, and of course a little bit of insurance for the Altarian Knight, Dragonites, and many different E-speeders in the tier, like Arcanine for Pex, and the Luna, of course, for Alecki. So very interesting team from his side. And then Derpy Boy with a pretty cool pick with the Pidgeotite and Amorous, of course, running into a Spidef Corviknight. Not the greatest pick here, or not the greatest matchup for it, I would guess, but Curse Garg is very interesting as well, and he wasn't able to maintain the hazards up with the Groudon, as the Corviknight was able to just freely defog on that when it was put on a timer, and the Zamazenta and all these other Pokemon weren't able to make much progress. So a good game from Stresh there, and well played to DB as well, but a difficult matchup for sure. And so here we have a very interesting game. We have Clas versus Icemaster. A really cool team on both sides, actually. We have a Cresselia, which is not often seen, to see the least, and a King Gambit as well, which is a very formidable Pokemon. Definitely pre-home. It was one of the premier Pokemon in the tier, even, I would say. But in this post-home, I think this is the first appearance from a King Gambit in OMPL, of course, with Defiant, able to pressure many Intimidate Manectype Mons pre-Mega, and then also punish Corviknight from defogging. So definitely a good pair on a hazard stacking team. But Clas doesn't seem to have many hazard setters, so you can maybe assume that Arceus Ground has Stealth Rocks, or this Pex. Typically, Toxic Spikes are not super common, but no Stealth Rock setter here on Clas's team. But still, the King Gambit is a dangerous Pokemon. And on the Icemaster side, we have a Walking Wake, which is also not often seen, but definitely Pidgeotite is a strong, fast wall breaker. And I've also seen people run Zard Y, Stone, as well, just to get up to Sun, but I'm not sure the viability of that, as it does lack the speed tier to do some consistent damage. And of course an Arceus Fairy as well, so not a standard pick by any means. We have a Dirge and a Gyarados to round out this strong team with Clodsire and Regieleki, two standard picks. But very cool teams on both sides for sure, and we'll just hop right into it. Of course, Icemaster leads Dirge, trying to get a Wisp off before Corv can Mega Evolve, and it seems as though he does, so that Corv being burned for the whole game is gonna look a little bit tough, because Corv is definitely very effective into Clodsire, and as we saw at the last game, Alecki doesn't actually force Corv out, and so Claude will get up some spikes here early, and Corv will just be able to defog those away. But of course, the Gyarados, having Defiant, a very scary Pokemon, so good play by Clas to just U-turn out and get the momentum. And of course, you can just spin with your Alecki as well, and very sharp start from both players. This burned Corviknight is surely going to be a pain in Clas side. Of course, you never want to see your Pokemon burned early in the game, when both teams have some more long-term options. So this game could be drawn out a little bit here, so maybe we'll turn on fast. We see the Arceus Ground go for Stealth Rock, of course, like it is the only Stealth Rock setter on Clas's team, so one could assume that. I guess King Gambit could also be Stealth Rock, but you wouldn't often see that, of course. We see the Dirge actually be poisoned by the Pex, so trying to get some damage off early with this Dirge's Icemaster, and of course he brings out his Arceus and taunts the Pex. Interesting pick, but definitely effective here, as it gets off a 59% on the King Gambit. Yeah, he drops a Crisset. Of course, no one might know what that might mean, but we see a slow U-turn from the Arceus and back into the Alecki, and we see Icemaster just switch out and block the Volt Switch, which was fair play, I assume. But on the +1 Arceus Fairy, this Pokemon could definitely be a very big nuisance to Class D in the long run, especially with a burned Corviknight here and a burned Toxapex, of course. If you ever Mega Evolve this Pex, it'll be put on a for sure timer. With only 8 recover PP, could definitely be a very scary situation. And Clas just gets the roost off here with his Corviknight and blocks the Volt Switch. Very fine play. And Icemaster will just trade his Alecki on turn 25 for the Arceus ground, which is very fair. It ensures that rocks won't go up as Clas does stay in there. And it's a clicking explosion is always a dangerous situation in this tier. I feel like if you always explode on the wrong Pokemon, it can be very disadvantageous for yourself, but it does get the Arceus ground there, so very good play from Icemaster. We got the Galarman, so I think that's like a tech finder. So anyway, we got the Metagrossite. King Gambit comes in. Adaptability, Ironhead does a chunk to the water type there. Of course, it is scared of a Sucker Punch, so making a fair double out and back into the Zapdos. Very, very well played by Icemaster there. And Clodsire comes back in, doesn't feel the need to Mega and get up his spikes, which is very fair. It could just always defog there at that point. Back in comes the Walking Wake, which has revealed Pidgeotite, and is that a scary Pokemon? I guess this is defensive Toxapex, so Hydro Pump, Draco Meteor, very scary combination of stabs for sure. Alecki comes in to tank the dangerous Gyapdos, and we see a nice double from Clas back into his King Gambit, so it'll be able to take out this Dirge here, and we're on a 4-3 advantage for Icemaster. And we see Clas actually sack the Gambit. Not sure if I agree with that play, because definitely Ironhead was still a huge threat at this point, but fair enough at that rate as well. Perhaps Cresselia wasn't able to take on this Zapdos. A little bit confusing, but you never question opposing players' plays. You just watch the game and call it as it is. And we see the Corv slow U-turn in on the Arceus Fairy, and it seems as though this is revealed to be Iron Defense Body Press Corviknight, so especially with that burn now, it likely isn't able to pressure this Arceus Fairy even at all, really. Although the Judgment, of course, is practically tickling this Corviknight, doing 13%. Not a lot of damage, but of course that 6% every turn could be a lot worse. Could be 12% every turn on a previous generation burn, but it's just it won't be able to stall out this Arceus Fairy in the long run. And of course with the Gyapdos there, still a big threat. Could be able to claim another kill, and with this Alecki at 27%, it's not exactly switching in on a Zapdos, so we'll have to see what the Cresselia is able to do at this late stage of the game. Of course, there is a taunt Arceus Fairy, so if it isn't a magic bounce ability, it could be problematic, as the Cresselia could just straight up lose to this Arceus Fairy, but we'll see it in due time, of course. And we just see a lot of doubling around with the Corviknight and Alecki here. Clodsire doesn't want to Mega, of course, because it would be able to be pressured by the Alecki then, assuming Gyarados side, of course, just to get up your spikes, ensure getting up your spikes. But of course it is his only ground type on his team, so maintaining the ground typing very important for blocking the Volt Switch, which would probably give Clas a lot of options in this late game, as he could just Volt Switch and try to chip all the Pokemon for free. Of course, this Clodsire without the Mega Evolution is able to just sit on the Alecki there for pretty much indefinitely, and getting up the spikes at this point doesn't even matter, because of course the Clodsire is just sitting on everything as is. And we finally see the Cresselia turn 70, and it is a Dauntless Shield variant, so it is able to sit on the Clodsire and not get toxic, so that's very interesting. But you'd think this Arceus with Taunt is able to just pressure it, and I'm guessing that this Arceus is just going to set up on this Cresselia at that point, even if Dauntless Shield, I guess it doesn't have any way to touch this Arceus. It must be stored power or something, but this Taunt Arceus Fairy in this endgame is looking like a very dastardly threat for Clas, so it's looking very bleak with the Corviknight burned, of course, since turn 2, so we'll see if he's able to make any progress. Icemaster goes for the Thunderous Kick, of course dropping that Iron Defense up Corviknight, but is not really doing much but tickling. But of course this Zapdos is not really fearing any attack from the Corviknight, so it looks as though he will just be able to spam Thunderous Kick, and even gets a crit there on the U-turn. So definitely a scary situation, but he's able to bring in the Corv on the Claude right away and get that last roost off. But of course that is his last one now, so we'll probably just see this Arceus be able to Calm Mind up and and just win the game at this point. Of course, Cresselia, yeah, he's just doubling around Cresselia, and it's looking bleak. I doubt this Cresselia has any moves to touch this Arceus Fairy, so we see a lot of doubling around at this point. I put it on hyperfast because I knew this game went on a little while, but we see Icemaster just stay in Judgment and catch the Alecki, and on turn 104, Clas will forfeit. But yeah, a great game. One of the longer games we've seen so far, but definitely a great game with two interesting teams. This is definitely what this tier is all about. So a very good game on both sides, and excited to see what happens with these players in the future weeks. Of course, I'm playing Icemaster this week, so that'll be a very fun game. And then we have DCA, excuse me, kdca versus Quantum Tesseract. So we'll just hop right into this. We have an Annihilate, we have some Basculation, so definitely some hyper offensive picks, and we see a Diancite Final Gambit turn 1, so that's very interesting. Slowking is just taken down, and we see the Arceus ground, so double ground type, and two of the Hisuian Pokemon are very cool, and a Corviknight as well, standard pick, and we see DCA copycat and go for the Prankster Final Gambit. Of course, dark types are immune to Prankster moves, and we don't even see a copycat trying to get a Ceaseless Edge up on Quantum Tesseract side. We just see the Healing Wish turn 3, so a little bit unfortunate there for DCA, but that'll happen, I guess. Everyone forgets mechanics once in a while. We see a crit T-punch on that Corviknight, so looking dastardly at 6%, but of course the Arcanine's going to be able to force out this Dragonite pretty easily here, and gets a crit on this Arceus, so is going to force the recover here, and is able to bring in his Samurott again right away, and this Arceus is actually able to almost tank 2 liquidations there, but definitely takes off from the Judgment, and of course, this Corviknight getting the little chip there on the Dragonite's going to force the Healing Wish there, which is not ideal to say the least for DCA, as he did trade his whole Pokemon for a 6% heal up. And of course, you see me chiming in here, talking to one of my old buddies, Marco Arenas. Anyway, we got Dragonite hit another DD, and he's going to trade 42% for his Dragonite. Assuming it's not a healing move there, as it might have been able to clean in the late game, but I guess it was never getting past this Arcanine was his thought process, and he just trades his Magearna as well, as it's not able to get a kill off on the Arcanine, revealing a Pinsirite Magearna. But perhaps the Arceus is able to do it now, but of course the Samurott did outspeed it earlier in the match, and it's able to take down the Arceus ground, and the Basculegion is probably just going to drop to a Sucker Punch. Yeah, and it does. So it's a good game from both players. Of course, DCA forgetting that Prankster is immune to or dark types are immune to Pranksters, excuse me. Bit unfortunate, but what can you do? Final Gambit strategy with copycats, a bit of a funny bring, but definitely a cool bring, I think, and unfortunate that QT had the dark type up his sleeve to block that strategy. Of course, it's also a props to QT for knowing that strategy exists, but definitely a cool hyper offense bring from DCA, trying to replicate what the success he had against Derby Boy, but QT definitely able to pull out the win here against the Gambit spam. Anyway, the last game of the week was actually my game that I played. I think I played the first game of the week for Eminem at least, but not sure about other games. JR has been not joining, so shout out to JR there. I'm just going to lead Zapdos. I'll probably just go through this game pretty quickly, as it's a pretty quick game. I'll bring in my tread so I can just spin on the gear. I'm not really fearing anything the gear's got going for it. No one runs Focus Blast on that Pokemon. So, bring in the Garg. Of course, this Great Test is already at -1, so pretty free to just heal up. I reveal Pinsirite, which I don't really care. I think it's pretty fine to just get up the rocks. Of course, don't want to take a Surf there, so just switch out on the Bro, but bring in my gear. Can double back to either my Treads or my Garg there to heal up, but figured Treads was fine too. likely Magearna coming out just because he wasn't scouted. So I clicked Earth Power there, even though he was Latias side. It kind of did figure his Great Tusk would come out to block this spin. So pretty good prediction there by me if I don't do so myself. But of course I just bring in the Garg on the. I assumed it was Pinsirite Tusk, so I just figured it was pretty free. Get on my rocks here because there's no way he could be able to Oko me with anything except for like a flash cannon, but people aren't running flash cannon on Magearna. I don't know, maybe they are, but definitely it's useful into some of the more common fairy types. But I'm just able to freely heal here after he's salt cured. Could probably just salt cure here, but no, I do go to my Zapdos. I forgot that I had Megas, so I thought I'd be able to get the Defiant boost there, but a little bit of a blunder by me, but that'll happen. Bring out my treads here. Could have gone back to the Garg. Of course, I didn't want to take the spike damage on Gearna because it does kind of just 6-0 the team, assuming E-Killer and this Zamazenta's no breaker set. But we'll see what happens. Trade most of my HP on my treads for just getting the spike off, because of course the spike's annoying and I want gear at full because I think it's going to win this matchup pretty easily, especially with Tusk already at 23. But just Brave Bird there. Get some good chip on the Slowbro, force it to recover off the damage. Of course, it does have Regenerator, but it still will be forced to recover at a point. Bring up my Cerulege. I'm gonna SD here, or just bitter for points. So I clear Smog here because if he body presses and oh, my computer's running low. If he body presses, definitely a scary Pokemon. So I stand by this clear Smog pretty freely. Body press is definitely scary to me. It might be able to 1v1 the Dragonite in some crazy messed up world, but I figured to just play safely and not make any mistakes, because for sure Dragonite's a big threat in the end game to him and my Gearna as well. And of course Garg kind of just sits on everything too and maintains the rocks, salt cures everything, body slams, so definitely I have an advantageous matchup for sure here. But I'm able to get in the gear on his bro and just Iron Defense for free. I know he's going to bring out the Tusk, and I'm able to get the special attack boost here, but just by killing it, go back up to full. It doesn't have many outs here at this point for him, unless his Arceus can taunt me or take me on some way. But of course he goes to Dragonite, so I'm pretty much assuming the game is over, and he just folds to this Slowbro set. Definitely an evil demonic set. It's kind of an idea I got from seeing QT's game against Damflame earlier in the season. He brought Red Orb, but definitely Slowbro good. There's no more E-turn in this tier, so this set, of course, not being able to crit is really great for the Calm Mind wars that you can experience. Lots of Calm Mind users in this tier. Definitely a scary Pokemon, and his Arc Ground usage wasn't super high, so I figured it'd be a pretty good bring here. And yeah, it's not going to be stopped. He's got nothing for this in this game, so we just stored power, Calm Mind, and yeah, there's no way this Slowbro would be able to compete with this gear set. So I'm just gonna store power twice, take that out, and then his last two Pokemon have no chance against +6, +6, +5. So that'll be a GG, and that'll be all the games from week 4 and 5. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you guys stayed tuned in for the whole game, and you know, we got some more games coming this next week. Of course, I'll be playing tomorrow morning against Icemaster, so it'll be very fun to tune into that one. And hopefully the Tyrants are able to pull out these last 2 points against the first place team and ensure playoffs. So I'll be rooting for my teammates there this week, and definitely some interesting action. Of course, we have the Dubwos and the Wigglies who have the same amount of points and are playing off against each other this week, and the Geezers who are still in it, and the Gazas Gould who are still in it as well, very much in the thick of things. The Virizions are still in the thick of things. Really, only team that's looking like it has no chance is the Flutters, but of course they are not mathematically eliminated, so you never know what can happen, and we'll see some good Pokemon games this week for the other metas. So definitely shout out to Ren, absolute stud, buddy always picks me to win, so we'll see if I can come through with that. But anyway, that's it for this video, and thanks for watching all the way through, guys, and see ya.